there's this deep urge inside of me to share, but not something specifically, but more just to share everything, just to share me, to share what's on my heart, to share what's actually the contents of my mind, almost like it's a way for me to vent out and actually process myself, everything that's happening inside of my head. And now sitting down and doing my morning practice, feeling this urge to record, and I'm thinking, oh, but like, how do I look? What about the light? The angle is not perfect, and you know, all of these things, all of these reasons and considerations why I shouldn't record this. And I'm not feeling that well, to be honest. I caught a flu of some sort. And it's strange because I feel like it's the second time this year that I'm going through something, and it's not very common for me to be having those flus, and I look at it as a sign to slow down and reflect on what I'm doing and what I'm actually not doing. So going back to basics. Yeah, it's always the strategy, going back to basics and simplifying and returning to the ways of being that I know that work for me, and noticing where I've not been showing up as powerfully. I've been listening to David Goggins recently, and the way this man is just mind-blowing, and it really gives me the permission or encouragement or the strength to actually fucking push through whatever the shit that my mind is churning. Like even now, to record this, not listening, or like just noticing that the mind will always suggest alternatives not to feel uncomfortable, and just seeing that and going past that. There's so much power in simply sharing. And when I discovered it, it was just mind-blowing. I remember first time, I think it was the beginning of COVID, and I kept hearing at the back of the podcast that I was listening to, the books that I was reading, this emphasis on community, and at the time, being a solo traveler through life, I couldn't really hear it. And I remember I came across this women's circle online, and I remember how I lit up. I lit up with excitement, even though I wasn't really sure of what it is, but I lit up, and the next thing, I felt so much fear. So it was this paradoxical experience of feeling two completely opposite emotions at the same time. I was like, oh, that's interesting. Because I wanted to sign up, but there was so much fear. Thinking, how will I share My mind is so choppy, no one's gonna understand me. I stutter, get stuck, and the story that I was telling for the longest time of my life is like I cannot express myself clearly. And knowing that I will be sharing in front of people that I'm sharing now, it wouldn't exist in my reality. It would just be an impossibility. It would be just something other people do. And I remember I used to see them, people sharing on Instagram, on Facebook, recording themselves while they share. And I'll be like, wow, these people are fucking ballsy. I could never do that. And noticing that fear to sign up for this women's circle, I was like, okay, this is where I need to go. It's interesting because I never had it as a concept to follow into the fear and to follow into discomfort for growth. But it's almost like this intuitive knowing that I was like, oh, this is interesting. It means I need to sign up and see what's there for me, because at the same time I was very excited. And I just remember how awkward I felt. I was just so fucking in my head. Not really being with everyone, but just being in my own prison cell of like, okay, what will I need to say? How will I share this? You know, so many things running through my head. And it was just like, I feel for that. I want to say girl, but I was a woman already. It wasn't that long ago. But the way I was just awkward in the way I was expressing myself, and it's like, but it was once, then twice, then 3 times, and with each time I would feel more free. I was like, wow, I can be a little bit more free, less fear. And it just literally took the practice to actually go over that and share openly. And now the magic and the beauty of being in sharing circles and being with people is to actually mastering being in the present moment, really feeling the essence and the presence of another human being or human beings, and then responding from that place, not from the mind, but literally from what's coming up, from what's arising. And it's so powerful and so beautiful, but it's also such a mastery to do. But I think the important part is not to be afraid to mess up, or pause, or close your eyes, and to really be messy. It's almost, I'm seeing language and speaking as the way you would paint a picture. It's like you do the first stroke, like you don't really see the picture, you don't see the end result. You do another stroke, and it's like it looks like nothing or nonsense or whatever, you know. And then it's like weaving those brush strokes into something that you can then see and then understand. And for me, it's also this way of just letting the words come out one word, other word, one story, other story, and then kind of weaving it into one bigger picture. Yeah, so that's my kind of way of conceptualizing it. Conceptualizing how to express, how it works for me to express myself. Not having an agenda, but just like taking a blank canvas, just like I did now, and just beginning brushstroke by brushstroke, and also not thinking, oh, what people are gonna think, are they gonna understand? Because this is essentially is what blocks great creators creating, is overthinking or thinking, doing something for the sake of someone rather than for the sake of the enjoyment of the process. Where in reality, life is all about just enjoying the process and just being playful and creative and not attaching yourself to the outcome of it, because you don't know. And when you think you know, then it's kind of, it's not a creation. Yeah, so I didn't know what was going to come out of me, but it's been a beautiful reflection for me to come back to and to articulate it to you, and to also see it for myself, how I'm creating through speaking, and also seeing the evolution of being someone who couldn't share in public, or like, yeah, would get very awkward, to someone who's sharing now publicly without thinking. So it's an evolution, it's a process that we all can get to. None of us is born this way or a certain way. It's something we learn and acquire, and the skills that we practice. And what I don't like is when people say, oh, but this is how I am. Like, I was having a conversation with someone from a dating app, and he kept jumping in with questions. He would ask a question, I would start answering, and before I can even finish, he would jump with another question. So then I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll answer that question. And then before I answer that question, he jumps with another question. And I'm like, whoa, let's slow down, because like there's so many questions I've not actually answered properly. And this is not how I like to interact, because this is not how I see a deep listening. And then he was like, but this is who I am, you just have to get used to it. And then for me, it's just such a limiting perspective to come from, to say, oh, this is who I am, you know. It's like I'm a fixed thing that I don't change, I don't take feedback, like, leave me alone, this is me, either be it or leave it, you know. So it just really limits your potential to grow and evolve and to actually take something on, you know. If someone is saying, oh, this is, I don't like this, instead of brushing it off, to say, what if there's some truth in that? What if I could take this on and really play with it for a little bit? And yeah, there's no right or wrong, you know. Everyone has their own ways of listening and responding. But I feel there's always so many layers in listening that we can access. And for me, it's just so profound once we really truly learn how to listen deeply, it's life transforming. It transforms your relationships, it transforms your mood, and it transforms your marriage. Like, so many stories you could hear about just the fact how people transform their listening, and their marriage literally transformed 360. And it's all in that. It's all in your listening, how you create other human being. And I'm not gonna expand on that, because then I'm gonna go into another rabbit hole, because it's a deep perspective, and a beautiful one. Maybe I'll share it for the next time. Yeah, I hope you got something out of this, and I would love to know what it is that you got and what was arising you as you were listening. And yeah, anything really that you would love to share.